Some think J.D. Vance could be that, but others say he just looks like a pedophile more than acts like one. P. Diddy certainly could have been an interesting outside candidate. But the bottom line here, Dwight, is this is an identity crisis for a party that will eventually need to decide, are they going to push forward and continue to build upon the pedophilia of Trump, or will they take the path of the Matt Gaetz moderates, go back to their roots and once again commit to being the grand old pedophiles of Reagan?
Will be interesting to see how it plays out. Thank you, Jason. In response to the infighting, Democratic leadership is looking to capitalize politically. Members of the House and Senate today held a joint press conference dressed as little children, stating, quote, "You can all be pedophiles if we can please have health care." Coming up next, making America healthy again. More on RFK Jr.'s latest initiative to fill the Washington Monument reflecting pool with beef tallow.
I mean, that happened. That also happened. It was just Mountain Dew instead. It was toxic sludge. Yeah. Also, you can tell it's satire because the Onion made it seem like the Democrats were actually fighting for health care in any way, shape, or form. So that's how you know it's fucking satire. That was the most far-fetched element of this satirical piece.
Let me start with the big picture among all Americans, because most Americans say they think the free market is a good thing. They have a more positive view of capitalism than they do of socialism, and they're net negative on socialism. But yeah, by comparison, there is relatively more support or favorability of socialism among Democrats. Not all Democrats, but it is a majority, and higher than compared to capitalism. You ask people what that means, because these are just labels.
Right.
And Democrats tend to describe socialism in terms of outcomes. Well, it's fairness. Well, there's more equality, and they're concerned about income inequality. Other people, other Americans, describe it as government control, and that's in a more negative context. So you can look at polling going back to the 30s, going to the 60s. There's always been these discussions of socialism, but they do tend to come out in tougher economic times. And even in this poll, we find, especially young people, saying like they feel opportunities are lesser now than they were for previous generations, that it's harder to get ahead, that the system doesn't work in a fair way. All that's the bigger context.
So as you rightly point out, this is a resurgence or reemergence of socialism. Certainly we've seen that this summer. How is it then splitting the Democratic Party specifically?
So one interesting thing is that it is college-educated Democrats who are relatively more favorable for socialism. And yes, they have even slightly higher incomes. We've seen some of that, too, in the votes that you mentioned, or the vote patterns in these states. What could be happening there is a sort of relative expectations. Maybe they've got a little more money, but it doesn't buy them as much as they thought. And the other part of it is, you ask people, is the Democratic Party as progressive as you'd like it to be? And that is also pretty even.
Even as they have this argument amongst themselves, ultimately they've got to go find swing voters, maybe even Republican voters, to vote for at least some of these Democrats if they have any hope of retaking control of Congress. So when you ask Americans overall about socialism and how the Democratic Party is sorting itself, what do they say?
So the big question here, I think, is what are the Democrats offering that's in contrast to the Trump economy? And of course, they want this to be a referendum on the Trump economy. But Democrats say they'd like to have bigger ideas from their candidates than smaller.
I'm sorry, but at a certain point, you can't keep begging in the polls. You got to make that decision. If you don't vote for people with big ideas, the party's never going to change. Because Democrats say this, but then they also still vote with a defensive posture. Okay? That's it. This is the most common expectation that I've heard. Democrats want their representatives to fight for them. Democrats want their representatives to hold the Trump administration accountable. They want their electeds to also fight for big changes. But then MS Now, CNN, New York Times, basically the entirety of corporate media turns around and tells them that the no changes candidate is the only electable one. It's the moderate one. And they go, oh my God, you're right. I have to vote for the no changes candidate again. And then it's surprise Pikachu face all over again. Every single time. They're like, how do we get here? How do we get here? Well, perhaps it's because you are not voting for the candidate that you like. Exit poll after exit poll shows unbelievable levels of support for Medicare for all in the same race where the anti-Medicare for all candidate is considered the electable candidate, and that's the candidate that wins. Democrats run with electability in the primaries and harm reduction in the general. And that's the reason why they never have to push for change. They can just wait it out. They can just wait out the Republican madness as the country ratchets further and further to the right. And there are people who are demanding those changes. There are media platforms who are demanding those changes. But obviously, those people get bullied and yelled at all day, every day by the same corporate media. And then there are liberals who behave like consultants for free, liberals who operate as though they are DNC paid consultants that will then establish those exact same lines of attack, highlight those same exact problems that the Republicans are making a big deal out of. It's strange. I don't know why there's so much reproduction of this kind of reactionary propaganda coming from people who think they're doing the right thing, people who are just like independent themselves. This is how we generate voter apathy. It's a constant race to the bottom.
Or incremental ones. They'd like to see people who they think are fighting for them, almost more affect than anything else. The way that plays going forward is that when you ask people to look back on other times Democrats have been in power, it's not necessarily seen as being successful. Remember the last time inflation started under Democrats. So do they need to offer something new in contrast? This is ultimately a fight about what that is.
All right. Anthony, we'll talk a little bit more about this later. Thank you for now.
Thanks.
And here he is now, James Carville. You really
in the flesh. Nice to see you, Jesse.
Nice to see you too. We're glad you're not in a bed. We usually see you in a bed.
I know. Usually I've had a little surgery and I've been in a bed a lot lately.
Good. We're glad you're doing better. Well, you look great.
Doing better.
We're glad you're doing. I wish I could say the same thing for the Democratic Party. Do you think that you guys should run AOC, another woman? You guys have not done well running women, James.
Well, first of all, I don't know why I feel bad about the Democratic Party. We're ahead 8 points in aggressive majority. Trump's at 32% in the polling. So I don't know about, I'm worried about the Democrats right now. I'm not. We're going to win the House.
You're not worried about the
the
communists taking over the party?
No, they're a bunch of silly people. Those people you had on there, those DSA people, they're a pack of fools. No one pays attention to them. They ain't going to do anything. Now, if you ask me about AOC, I do think she's very talented. She's certainly to the left of me, but you know what she's doing? What I think good politicians do, she's growing into the job. She's not the same person she was when she was elected in 2018. And when people change a position from a...
Connor says, I'm sorry, but Jesse Waters is so comically awful. It's kind of awesome. He's perfect for his role. 100%. He's like a textbook villain, dude. He's like a school bully. Record behavior. He's doing it right now. By the way, Fox News loves this shit. Yes.
What I think is a more naive position to a more realistic position. I'm going to praise them. I'm a guy. I like converts in my church. I can't get you to come
I
into
agree.
it.
I agree. People can grow up. I have certainly grown up. Jesse Waters have matured over my career. But what she was saying that menstruating people. You can't, I mean.
Again, this is only a big deal if we allow the Republicans to make it a big deal. Every single instance of trans-related issues is only a big deal because the Democrats don't have definable policies that they run on that Republicans have to position themselves against. I've been saying this for the last decade. I'm going to continue saying it. It kind of feels like at least some of the establishment Democrats are coming to terms with that reality as well a little bit, because we constantly find ourselves in a defensive posture where we allow the Republicans to dominate the conversation. We allow Fox News to be the news desk editor of New York Times, MS Now, CNN, and the rest of corporate media that's like a little bit more liberal. Okay? Like, who cares? Who cares that AOC said, like, menstruating persons? I don't care. Why is this relevant to me? I don't care. I genuinely don't care. The woke one stuff becomes a major flashpoint for some reason because Republicans are so comfortable in that space. They try to turn around and say, look, Democrats are doing an about face. They're running away from their previous positions. They're running away from their previous positions where they were being cringe. They were being overly sensitive. They were being hyper woke. I don't care. Okay? I think it's unbelievably immaterial in the grand scheme of things. And I don't even like it when people are complaining as though this is AOC and DSA aligned electeds actually going back on their previous promises. It's one of AOC's biggest flaws. She sounds too much like a rad lib. She should communicate like a normal American. It's good. It's a good thing. If she turns around and says, yeah, I'm just not doing the hyper sensitive stuff any longer. I'm just going to talk about the kitchen table issues. I'm going to talk about the bread and butter issues. I'm going to talk about, affordability. Then that's great. That's a welcomed addition, okay? I don't like when people also then lose their minds over it. I don't like when people lose their minds over like, oh, well, she's very clearly going to throw everything under the bus. She's going to become a moderate establishment centrist Democrat or something. Okay? Who cares what kind of language that people were using? Who cares? I never did, but it doesn't matter, right? I think running around saying that's just fucking a dog whistle for transgenocide. Wait, what? No, it's not. No, it's not. The argument is very simple, okay? Do you want health care? Do you want a roof over your head? Great. Trans people are also getting it. Are you fine with that? Or are you not fine with that? Leave trans people alone. If you're not fine with that, well, then sucks to suck. Go vote for the anti-trans party, okay? There are much less people who will make that calculation and go vote for the anti-trans vote, okay? That's the reality. As opposed to what we're currently doing, which is not offering anything to those people at all and just going, oh, you're anti-trans. Well, that means you're a villain. That means you can't be a part of this broader coalition. Brother, I know you aren't intending it, but you're being slightly transphobic, saying it's a nonsense issue. Trans men and MBs at X and M get denied insurance without the inclusive language. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Do you think trans men and women get denied insurance coverage because AOC didn't say like menstruating persons? Is that what you seriously are saying? No, that is an entirely separate conversation, okay? I'm simply stating that Democrats that want to protect trans people, okay, Democrats that want to protect trans people should have a broader left populist agenda that they put at the forefront, okay? Because any conversation that revolves around the optics argument, okay, the optics argument that centers, trans issues is always going to be a defensive posture against the Republicans, and it clearly doesn't work. Not with you on this one, boss. Sorry. I'm not saying compromise on trans issues. I've never said that. Okay? The best possible way to deal with this is to say trans people are our neighbors. They are a part of the working class. You need to leave them alone. Their problems are working class issues as well. Okay? They're God's children, just like you and I. Shut the fuck up about trans people. Republicans are distracting everyone by constantly talking about trans people. Donald Trump already eradicated transgender athletes from NCAA, and it didn't help. It didn't help pay your rent. Okay, it did not help pay your rent. Did it? Is your life better? Are eggs more affordable now? They're not, because that was used to make you think that Donald Trump was doing something. As a trans person, unless someone says they are trans in these conversations, do not engage in bad faith actors. It's 1% of the population. The fact that it is 90% of the discourse is unfucking believable, and it is by design. And this has worked, by the way. It worked in Kentucky. Andy Bashar did this. And I'm a great example of this as well, right? Like, this is a pro-trans community, okay? Uncompromising on trans issues. This is a pro-trans community. This is a community where trans people are protected, right? We ban transphobes immediately. Okay. Having said that, have you ever heard me say Latinx? Have you ever heard me say birthing person or menstruating person? These are important pieces of language that you can use in an academic setting. But like, I don't say that. I don't use that language at all. Does that make you question whether or not I think trans issues are ones that we should cast aside? Has that ever made you think, oh, well, I don't know about Hasan. I don't know if Hasan is actually pro-trans or not. Has that ever made you question whether I'm pro-trans or not, even a little bit? That's it. Because it doesn't mean anything. It's just like an aesthetic marker. That's all it is. For some people, they question it. Okay, well, I guess that's just the reality then. This is one of the only massive spaces on the internet where trans people can congregate and know full well that they will be protected. They will not be attacked. They will not be attacked by transphobes. We work very hard to ensure that it's a safer space. It's also an educational space, so it's not going to be 100% a safe space regardless. But like, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to like, I don't know why you're being defensive about this right now. I'm being defensive about this because in order to better protect all marginalized communities, including trans people, there is a way to communicate these issues to the masses, because we're currently losing on this argument. Because Republicans are capable of dominating the conversation on this argument. They're very successfully dominating the conversation on this argument. I'm not even compromising on like transgender athletes. I think that stuff is fucking ridiculous as well, right? It's ridiculous. Why do you care? It's a ridiculous story. It's a ridiculous issue. But the only reason why we are constantly talking about it, we're constantly fucking talking about it, is because the Republicans know that it's a 70-30 issue now for them, and that's the only thing that they can lean into. It's 1% of the population, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't hurt you one way or another. It only hurts trans people if you're a trans person. That's it. But dunking on 1% of the population, does that make you feel better? I guess if you're a fucking bully, you know, it makes you feel like there's a group of people that you are above. It's a totally cultivated issue that Republicans successfully manufacture outrage around over and over again. Our guy Van Lathan had a take about trans people in sports is going semi-viral. Yeah, this was a great take.
If you cannot gift trans people at this point, if you cannot gift them with visibility, humanity, and acceptance, could you at least gift them with silence? Could you at least shut the up about them? Like, could you just at least leave them the alone? There are wars happening in the Middle East. Food prices are crazy. Like, the environment is in the shit. We can't eat lettuce without crapping our pants. All of this stuff, and you still picking on these people after all of this time. Shut the up.
Yeah. Beast mode. I say this to my friends, and they immediately hit the "you're okay with minors getting gender affirming care when under 18s can't even get a tattoo." The question you should ask them is, why do you care about what a medical professional is deciding to do with a patient? Do you make this decision about, do you get to have a say when a doctor decides to do open heart surgery on a minor? Do you get to have a say when someone who's a minor is pre-diabetic and a doctor decides to give them Ozempic? Do you get to have a say in every minute, detailed medical decision that a fucking doctor is making for a minor patient? Your take on this is awful. Really? We get to decide. I didn't go to medical school. You didn't go to medical school. None of us know better. Okay? But we should get to make these decisions. I think it's psychotic. You let minors drink and smoke cigs? Okay, never mind. We are in agreement. I agree. I think it's ridiculous. There is a Haganese version of this message. You know? Then they argue that this is different. How do we respond to that? What do you mean it's different? It's literally, it is a medical decision being made by a medical professional. What are we talking about? It's not different. It's exactly the same. They can't just say it's different. There are people out there who are Christian Scientists, okay? There are people out there who do not believe in doctors. There are people out there who do not believe that if you were to break your arm as a 12-year-old, that you should get a cast, okay? Straight up. There are people who believe that. Are we going to let them make these decisions now? If there's enough of them, we got to make them make these decisions? This is the hog retort, okay? Sometimes it's good to speak the language of the hog. Sometimes it's good to speak like a chud. Okay? Just because people don't believe in medical intervention doesn't mean that we have to abide by that. Doesn't mean that we get to make these decisions. That's not how we write legislation. It's fucking ridiculous. What are we doing? It's that simple. Speak like a chud, think like a woke. Yeah. When people ask you about this stuff, just say, I think a doctor should make this decision. I'm sorry. You know? I don't like braces. I think they are bad. Do I get to have a say on whether or not a minor gets braces, or is it the doctor? Is it the dentist that makes that decision? I think it should be the dentist that makes that decision. I didn't go to dentist school. Okay? I didn't go to dentist school. They did. They know better. Sometimes it's better to leave this up to the people who spent their lives trying to give people the necessary life-saving, oftentimes, medical intervention. That is a real problem in American discourse. This is a real issue in American culture for sure, where we've just like, I think due to American exceptionalism and American individualism, we've deluded ourselves into thinking that we know better than the people who've spent their entire lives studying the subject and learning and trying to help people. You know, it like I don't know more than a doctor, okay? I don't know better than a doctor. I don't. And I'm man enough to admit it. Okay? I'm smart enough to recognize my limitations. This is the problem. A lot of Americans do not operate like this at all. They go, no, I know everything. And I'm a unique little snowflake. And just because my unique little brain decided a certain thing, everybody else has to abide by it. It's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So, yeah. There's always a way to flip the script back on people who have ridiculous opinions. Okay? Ridiculous opinions on how things should be, how society should be formed. There's always a way to speak in the language of liberalism if you're talking to liberals, and the language of Haganese if you're talking to chuds. I think one of AOC's biggest weaknesses, unironically, was always the fact that she speaks too much like a rad lib, too much like an academic. She always wanted to be as accessible as what's the word? Like she just wanted to be as kind as possible, right? And it comes across as insincere. Inclusive is the word, yes. She's too inoffensive, too inclusive in her language, and it sometimes comes across as insincere. Okay? I disagree. She's loved. Yes, she's loved by our community, but our community is obviously far from the norm. Okay? I think part of the problem also is that corporations also took on this language. And once that happens, once DEI language, if you want to call it that, or inclusivity language is associated with corporate Memphis as a type font, as a design language, once it's associated with Amazon, McDonald's, Nike, it's fucking over. And in some instances, it makes sense that people actually reacted to this in a negative manner because it's just not how like normal people operate in the real world. Right? That's why I say you got to speak the language of the masses. You got to speak to the masses. You got to be where the masses are. And you got to speak to their needs. You got to lend a helping hand. This was somewhat of an issue with Francesca Hong as well. It's not about dropping these issues, dropping these policies, dropping the advocacy. It's just about, talking like a normal person. Because in the rest of the country, I'm sorry, there are plenty of kind individuals, kind-hearted individuals who just haven't like thought about these issues at all, right? They haven't thought about these issues at all, but they could be convinced. But when they hear that kind of language, they basically immediately assume that it's insincere, it's corpo speak, it's HR speak, it's whatever, right? Like they hear that and they go, "Oh, here we go. This is another smug elitist." Okay, inclusivity is good. That's not an argument, but there comes a time when you have to put yourself on the same level as constituents and the masses and speak like them and what matters in their day-to-day life. Yeah. Gramsci said in the prison notebooks that intellectuals have a dialogical responsibility to educate the masses. I do think so, for sure. But a good educator who's speaking to the masses will have to speak the language of the masses. If their language comes across as inaccessible, if their language comes across as far too academic or far too inaccessible, then of course people are not going to listen to it. So then we fail on that desire. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, normal people don't see that language as pro-working class. They see it as elite bullshit. That's why this is a bunch of white, middle-class, champagne socialist line has more emotion with Chuz. Yes, 100%.
That's like a core fundamental issue, a biological issue. Usually like the next year when it's unpopular, you say, oh, I don't believe that.
But look, there was a place where part of the country went crazy in 2019, 20, 21, 22. I told them they were crazy. And to her credit, she doesn't talk like that anymore. Good, you've grown. We like that. You're moving in the right direction.
Okay, well.
It's such bullshit because normal person talk was hijacked by right-wing culture wars. We can hijack it with inclusivity and kindness too. Just can't be framed in a snobby case. I know, but like saying stuff like I don't even think it's that big of a deal when someone says like birthing person. I just don't. I think this is irrelevant, right? Like the example I always use is like Amy Goodman. I love Amy Goodman. I respect the shit out of her. I revere Amy Goodman. I think she is a shining, a bright light in a sea of awfulness. Okay. She does it all the time. She's always done it. To me, it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's utterly irrelevant. It's completely harmless. Who cares if people are using that kind of language? But if you're trying to sell yourself to the masses, okay, if you're trying to sell yourself to the masses, like you're going to have to sometimes reposition your comments. You're going to have to reposition the way you talk about certain issues. That's it. It's not about dropping your advocacy at all. It's more so about making your advocacy more successful. And the other side of the story also is obviously defining yourself. You always have to define yourself, okay? You have to define your campaign and your candidacy around key issues that help people, that want to improve people's lives, okay? Zohran Mamdani is a great example of this. He's woke. Nobody gave a shit about his advocacy for trans issues or anything like that because they were too busy yelling about his communist policies of state-run grocery stores as though it's like impossible to push for that when in places like fucking Georgia, they already have it. Every goddamn military base is a commissary. Right? Hasan has to explain why meeting people where they are works every stream. I know. And it's kind of funny because I've never stopped doing this. I haven't stopped doing this during Woke 1.0. I haven't stopped. I've been doing this exact argument. I've been presenting this exact argument since like 2014. Okay. And day in, day out, there are still people who come in here and go, nah, that's fucked up. Or People who come in here and go, you're the king of woke, fuck you. You were Mr. Woke 1.0, whatever. Okay, what are your thoughts on alternative examples to explain some ideas in a more normal way? I just did. I explained to you the transgender, the way to talk about like trans-related issues is through medical privacy. Not allowing the government to intervene in the affairs of a patient and a doctor. It's fucking ridiculous. Because it is ridiculous. As far as trans athletes, the question always is like, why do you care? Do you care about high school athletics? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? These people aren't like faking it so they can get an upper hand. They just want to, you know, they're kids. They're kids. They want to be a part of kid shit, like what kids do. They just want to be, they want to have a sense of community. What do you mean? Like, why are you dunking on a 14-year-old, dude? What the fuck's wrong with you? And then on the other side, how do we legislate this? How do we actually regulate this? Do you want random perverted parents to do genital inspection day at your school? Because that's what we're going to. That's what we're heading towards. You're going to have a daughter one day. Your daughter's going to be too dominant in high school athletics. And then the opposing team's fathers are going to be like, we need to see her pussy. Is that a reality you want to live in? It's disgusting. It's pedophilic. Why the fuck are we letting these pedophilic monsters interfere in these affairs? Straight up. That's it. That's literally the advocacy. They want genital inspection day. Flip the script. I don't want these pedophiles doing genital inspection day at school.
Always a good thing.
Is the rest of your party moving in the right direction? We saw Gavin Newsom fly to Michigan to kiss this guy's ring, this guy Abdul, who calls you names, Carville. He hates you.
So what? They don't like me. I don't dislike them. He's a guy. I was for Haley Stevens. But all the people that I see out there running Ossoff and Andy Bashir and Shapiro and Wes and everybody else, there's so much talent in this party. People are going to be blown away after we get past 26 and start running. Okay. And the people that we're talking about are not going to do anything.
Okay, Ossoff, Bashir, no one knows these guys. These guys are boring guys. You know, that's the future. We're talking about right now, James. And right now, I mean, the mayor here in New York speaking Chinese. Do you speak Chinese?
I don't, but I wish I did. I would be a more educated person, and I'm not going to fault anybody for learning.
Dude, Mamdani speaks Chinese. God, it's over, okay? American supremacy is done. This is the leading subheader on the most popular news broadcast in the country. Okay? Anti-intellectualism has won in America B. We cannot allow it to win in America A. Okay? The other side of this story, after I talked about, like, you know, speaking the language of the masses, is also the idea that, like, it's actually better to keep your head in the fucking sand. This notion. Like, you cannot use this as a line of attack, man. You are not. This is unacceptable. It's so fucking stupid, dude. It's so stupid. I can't. Mamdani speaks Chinese. How do you feel about that, James Carville? What the fuck? Do you want America to be a dominant force around the planet or not, dumbass? The fuck are you talking about?
Other language, unfortunately, I barely speak Cajun French, but that's fine. It means he's an educated, smart guy. He speaks different languages.
Well, I don't think he speaks it.
By the way, the mayor of New York,
I think he mimicked
he can bring
it.
Chinese businesses.
Okay, fine. All right, so that's fine. He's speaking Mandarin here in New York City. And